Hi, good morning, everyone. It's 10:05 right now, and I just made an announcement extending the deadline for Project 2A, but hopefully that won't happen for Project 2B, 2C. Especially, it's not going to happen for, let me share my screen here for um, it's not going to happen for Project 3, right? So especially like if you look at Project 3, the due date is May 5th, and we need to submit the grades as soon as possible. So there is not going to be any extension for Project 3 especially. And I'm not sure if I'll even do extension for Project 2B and 2C because a lot of the hint is going to be given in the class. But I hope you take this time because there's a spring break and there is a little bit of a longer time for us to finish grading. And then there's 3 weeks for Project 2B, right? So we have from March 2 all the way to March 22 for you guys to finish Project 2B. So yeah, I hope you guys, all of you finish Project 2A since we gave the extension. Another thing, I want to mention is Project 2B, right? So for Project 2B, um, in the last lecture, we were able to complete phase 1, that's chapter 12. And then today we're going to do phase 2, chapter 13. I'll be giving you hints on that. But phase 3, chapter 14, you'll have to figure that out on your own. There will be no lecture on this. You'll just have to read the book and figure this out on your own, how to do this, right? I won't be doing that, but after maybe a couple of weeks, after the deadline is passed, right? While, say, for example, if I'm in week 11 or so, I can finish this phase 14. I can write the code for this. I'm going to do a special lecture covering this phase 3, chapter 14, so that you guys can help complete project 2C as well, right? But I'm not going to be doing this while you guys are doing project 2B. I will let you guys figure that out and read the book and ask specific questions. Please don't ask me vague questions. How do I do this whole thing? That kind of question, but just a specific question regarding the dialog box, right? So that's what I would ask from you guys. So let me stop sharing my screen. Let me get the slides here real quick. Actually, give me 1 minute. All right, so I want to add one more thing. Since this is a lecture on 6B, so this is a lecture on Module 6, Part B. We won't have lecture on spring break, obviously, from March 8 to 16. You guys are free to enjoy your spring break. There's not going to be any lecture. Also, we're going to have no lecture on March 16 to March 22, right? We're not going to have any lecture because I'm doing the lecture right now. So I'm going to be doing Module 6, Part B today. So we'll be completing phase 2 today, right? We'll be working on it and going step by step how to work with this, right? So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's go ahead and let's get started on, let me get the slides here. So let's get started with the some of the theory, and then I think most of this will make sense after we actually go on and actually do the coding, right? So let's start this. So this is module part 2 is going to be a navigation and dialogue. So navigation, remember, in project 1C, we use something called intents, right? In that intents, what we did was we passed data from one activity to another activity. For example, in that case, from the main activity to the cheat summary activity or something like that, right? So we did that, and it was quite painful, right? We did from one activity to another activity, and it has to be passed through the operating systems. Quite a lot of problems. But navigation simplifies that, right? It makes it much easier to pass the data between the fragments, and we'll see how that works. And dialogues is basically, say you have a dialogue, right? Say you want to add something, and then it will pop up another dialogue, right? So where you can add, like say, add a reflection or something like that, and then the dialogue will pop up, and you can add some stuff, right? So that's what we are going to learn about in this lecture. So navigation resource, graphical representation. Navigation resource in Android-led developer create a navigation graph that visually maps how app components, fragment activities connect, right? So we're going to look at this, what this is. Actually, I'm going to show you very soon. But the data that is being passed is passed through the Safe Args library, which is a Gradle plugin that enables type safe passing of data between two destinations. We'll look into this as well. And then it is direction classes automatically generated for origin components, fragments to define navigation actions and pass arguments. So we will see how there's this automatically generated for origin components, right? So there's a direction from there's a direction. It's literally like an arrow. You will see that in this graphical representation, right? And that is going to be used to pass the data from one class, not one class, one fragment to another fragment, right? Our classes generated for destination components to safely retrieve the past data. And we're going to also look at this arg classes today in the code. Safe arg library. The advantages of this is it's type safe. It prevents runtime error caused by mismatches. Also, ease of use, making passing data between components as straightforward as method calls, right? But the limitation of this is the data you pass is restricted to primitive types and simple objects, right? So you can't, similar to extra. So we can't be passing something very complicated, right? Simplified navigation, using Ceph navigating between fragments of activities almost as simple as calling a single function, eliminating the need for manual boilerplate code. And we'll look into this. Like the setting up does take a little bit of time. After we set up, this is a very simple process rather than doing the bundle and this and that we did in the in the intents. It is much more simpler. We're going to look into that. Android Studio provides a graphical user interface to design and manipulate the navigation graph. We're going to actually look into this, how that looks like. We're going to create something called nav graph today. And developers can use the design tab to visually connect components or use the code view to directly edit the XML definition of a navigation graph. We'll also look into that, right? User navigate, project example, navigation in project 2B, right? User navigate from list screen to detail screen, right? So what happens, right? After you click on one of the list item, right? It has to take us to a dream detail view, but based on that item of the list, right? So we need to be able to click on that list and it should take us to that dream detail, right? But what is being passed from that list to that dream detail, right? The ID is being passed. And using that ID, we will populate that dream detail, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're not going to use the intents that we used in Project 1. See, this is going to be much more efficient and a better way of doing it. Back navigation. The system handles a back navigation automatically, returning users to the list screen without requiring additional code. When the user presses the back button, they're navigated to the previous screen, right? So it handles it automatically. That's the main point here. Additional action. When navigating app, the app will save any changes made to the database. So how do we do that, right? So there's this thing called, we need to understand the life cycle here again. When navigating away from the detail screen, the dream detail view is cleared because it's not retained on the backstack. So the point of this is we need to use this onCreate method. It can be used to handle cleanup tasks such as triggering database updates, right? So for example, you make some change to the dream detail, then while you navigate back, this onCleared is going to be called, and then that's where we're going to do the database update, right? But there's one issue with this. One issue with this is background work initiated in onCleared would be canceled if the view model is cleared, right? So if the view model is cleared, the background work is also clear. And this can potentially cause the update to stop prematurely, right? It might never go to the database. So to solve this problem, right, to ensure that database updates complete even after view model is cleared, we need to create a separate coroutine within the repository to handle the update independently of the view model, right? So we will look into this, how we do that. We use something called global scope, which is generally not recommended for production code, right? So if you were working in a software development company, you won't be using this global scope, but this is for the educational context. So there are better alternatives, and this is beyond the scope of this course. We're not going to cover that. I think what we use is going to be sufficient for this course, right? Let's talk a little bit about the dialog boxes, right? So general purpose, right? We use the alert dialog box. It's versatile, is the most flexible dialog used for a variety of purposes such as confirmation, selection, notification. Built using builder pattern, which allows you to specify option like single choice, multiple choice list, confirmation, okay, cancel, right? Display. The final step in creating alert dialog is creating the show method, which constructs and displays the dialog. So you guys will be working on this. You guys will be looking at the book. I'm actually not going to be, I'm free from this, right? I'm not going to be doing anything. Maybe in the next 4 weeks before you guys finish 2C, I will show you guys how to do this, but I'm not going to show you anything. You guys will have to read the book and figure out phase 3 of this project, right? A specialized dialog, date picker dialog. You have like a calendar style where you can pick the date, you can pick the time, different kind of dialog box, right? Why do we use this dialog fragment, right? It wraps a dialog for better lifecycle management and additional functionality. Again, the point of this whole Android app development class that I've been teaching you guys is you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? That's the phrase that I wanted to use. Everything is given to you. It has been created by experts, and maybe if you want to be that expert, maybe you want to get your master's in Android research or something like the Android app development, and then you can go ahead and make it more efficient. But for you guys, these things have been created, right? So it has lifecycle resilience, automatically recreates the dialog if the device rotates. So even it handles rotation, back navigation handles back navigation, automatically coding the dialog properly without additional code, integration with navigation, so it also supports the navigation, and data exchange, makes passing data to the origin fragment straightforward through set fragment results, set fragment listener. So it does give you a lot of functionality, right? Which you'll have to learn yourself. Receiving data in the origin fragment. Use set fragment result listener in the origin fragment to receive the data. So this is how you'll be receiving the data. And then you'll have to request key, identify specific dialog or event you're interested in. This is going to show you which dialog you're interested in. Bundle key specifies which piece of data. So you want to get, say, maybe a text from the dialog box. Say you want to add like a reflection. I think which is actually what you'll be doing in this project. I think so. I need to check to be. I haven't. You know what? I don't need to tell anything. You guys will be doing that yourself. So you guys figure it out, right? Callback trigger activated when the dialog is dismissed positively. The user clicks OK, right? And returning from data dialog fragment. This I've told you guys that this should be called a set fragment result before dismissing itself. Without this call, no data will be returned, and the origin fragment remain unchanged as if the dialog was never open, right? So there's some hints for project 2B. Please take a look at that. We're gonna continue coding 2B from where we left off last week. Actually, let me just put this way, and I can even close this. All right, so let's get started with there's a lot to do today. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, like um, in the phase 1 that we did in the last lecture. It was a long lecture, and I believe this lecture is also going to be long. I hope not. I mean, I hope I can concisely explain everything to you guys, but there's a lot of moving parts in this, right? So this is where we were at, like last lecture. We got everything from the database, and we use something called the Stateflow to cache this. So now we should be able to click on this, and then it should take us to dream detail, right? We're not going to jump around. We're not going to go to this. This is how we did for project phase 1, right? We manually went here and like, oh, fragment dream detail and fragment list dream detail fragment. We changed all this manually, right? We're not going to do that anymore. And that is not the right way to do it. We're going to actually do it in a more sophisticated way. Let me drink some water here. It is a long lecture, so I have my water next to me. All right, so let's get started, right? So let's get started. Let me see what we need to start doing here, right? Actually, the first thing we need to do is we need to go to Dream list adapter. Yeah, let's go to Dream list adapter, and we also need the Dream list fragment. So why am I opening this Dream list adapter and Dream list fragment, right? First of all, when I click on this list, it should be able to pass that ID of that dream, right? So it should be able to pass this dream ID, this primary key, from here to the dream list fragment, right? So it should, sorry, to the dream detail fragment, right? It should go over here. But we need to do some configuration in dream list fragment and dream adapter to be able to make those changes, right? So um so we could write the on-click listener on we could actually write the listener. What's happening here? We could actually write the listener on Dream List Adapter, right? So if we click on, say, if we click on a list item, right? It can just go to this bind item, and then you click on that listener, and then it will take us to the dream detail, right? But instead of doing that, we're gonna follow the principle of MVC, right? Model view controller, because our controller model is this dream list fragment, and then this is our view, right? So this is our view. So we're not gonna do that kind of activity here. Instead, we're going to do something unique. So we want to pass in a function in the dream list adapter. So we're going to actually pass, and this is going to be new for you guys. If you guys are not familiar with passing function, we're going to actually pass not a parameter, but a function from here to the dream list adapter here. And then after that, that function, if it clicks on here, it's going to be handled in here. We will put the listener over here, but we're going to handle it using the function over here. So it's going to be quite unique for you guys. But bear with me. I'm going to teach you guys step by step how to do this, right? So let's get started with this. First of all, we need to pass. We need to pass like a function to dream adapter, right? Because we can't go directly to the dream holder. The dream holder has to be called by the dream list adapter, right? So let's do this, right? First of all, how do I do this? Let me get started here. So let's do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass a function here. So I don't know if we have done this in this class, but we're going to write it from scratch here. I think we did it before, but it was already given to us. I think it was in project 1C, but now we're going to create it from scratch, right? We're going to create a function on dream clicked that will be passed to us, and then it will take UUID, which is your unique ID. In dream.kt, you see that this is the thing that has to be passed in that function, and then that function will return void. So there's no such thing as void. We can't do void like this. What we need to do in function while you're passing the function is we need to pass this thing called unit. So right, we'll just be passing this unit, and then also we need to pass this to dream holder, right? So how do I do that? To pass this, we need to add, let me check if I need to do something else. I think that's about it. Yeah, and then to pass this function we need to pass this on dream clicked function to this dream holder, right? So how do I do that? So I simply do on dream clicked, right? So now it says on dream clicked, and it's gonna go to this bind function here. Of course, it doesn't have this. It's not receiving any of this function because we haven't changed this. So let's change this, right? So here we need to be able to receive a function on this bind function. So on dream clicked, and then here it will be taking UUID as input, and it's just returning the void, right? So we just passed it from here to there, right? So that's all that this is doing. And then after that is clicked binding dot root. So if it's clicked on anywhere in the root, then we're going to trigger this on click listener, right? So we're going to just trigger this on click listener, and then this on dream click function that has been passed, we're going to use that on dream clicked function to pass the dream ID. So let's just do that, right? We'll just pass that dream ID. So this dream ID, where are we getting this dream ID from? So the dream ID is already given in this bind, right? We have this dream, and then whichever dream is clicked, then that ID is gonna be passed in this dream click function. But you guys are gonna say like, where is this on dream click function? This all sounds so abstract, professor. Like this, it doesn't make any sense to me. Of course, it might not make any sense to you guys because I've not created this on dream click function. It actually has to be created from in here. We need to create this function here, right? So let's do that. Um, and if you're passing a function somewhere, right? If you are passing a function and it's the last parameter, instead of doing comma and then passing a function here, like a function here, what you can do is in Kotlin, you can use this braces, and then here you can write the function, right? You can simply do this to pass the function. So in that function, we get, what do we get in that function? We get a dream ID in that function, right? So that takes a UUID, and the dream ID is given here, right? So the dream ID is given here. So we will have a dream ID. Assume we'll have a dream ID in that function. So we will do dream ID in that function, which has been passed here, right? That's a UUID that has been passed here inside the dream holder. So, and now here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna log this, right? We're gonna say W, and then we're gonna actually log needs to be imported, right? Log, I think that's Android util W, and then we're gonna make a tag. So we're just gonna give a tag as DLF. This is the dream list fragment, and then we're gonna give a message. Clicked dream. What's happening? I hope I didn't mess up anything. Okay, so dream ID, and then we're gonna give this. We're gonna print this dream ID now that has been given us. The dream ID is given us here, so we're just gonna print that, right? So let's check this. Let's check if this actually works. Let's look at the logcat. So what we did was we passed a function from to dream list adapter. You pass a dream and a function, right? So the dream list adapter takes that here. It takes a dream and then it takes the function as well that we just wrote the function. We wrote the function here, right? Remember, this function takes in a dream and then returns void, right? It just prints something right now. And then it doesn't return anything. It's unit, right? And then this function was passed to to the stream holder, right? And then when something was clicked, then we're just gonna call this function and then pass this dream ID, which goes here and then prints this, right? So this is very weird, not very intuitive if you haven't done much functional programming, but I hope you get used to this way of thinking in this class, right? So let's do this. Let's run this program again. Let's be patient here. So I'm going to open the logcat because it's going to open in the logcat. Where's the logcat here? Logcat, all right. So let me clear the logcat, right? So there's a lot of useless nonsense that happens in logcat. Actually, it might be useful stuff, but a lot of things that are not useful. But let's click on this, right? Let's click on anywhere here. Okay, so we got this, right? So click Dream ID, and this is the UUID, right? So let me click another one, Swim with Dolphins, right? So I clicked on this, it gave me another UUID, right? You see it's 3217 and 3211. It gave me a different UUID, a unique number, right? So this is working, right? So now I can click from here, it goes to adapter. But this is the point of this is not to print this, right? It's not like, okay, we printed this, now we're done with this. No, this is not what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to pass this from the dream list fragment to the dream detail fragment, right? So we just want to pass this dream ID to the dream. So see how we separated the model and the view, right? So this is the controller and the view. So here is where we're doing the controlling, but here we're just taking the inputs from this is where we get the ID, right? So this is separation of concerns. Okay, so let's move on, right? What is the next thing we want to do? We printed this. Now we'll have a dream ID to navigate from dream list fragment to dream detail fragment. We're going to avoid using intents. How do we do this, right? So we need to create, first of all, and I think the book does all of this stuff, but I'm going to show you guys how to do this. So we're going to go and create a new Android resource file here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make something called nav graph. So this is how the navigation is going to be done. And then instead of saying values, we're going to change this to navigation. And that should do it. This should create a new folder called the resource. Inside the resource folder, called navigation, right? So let's do this. Remember it, yeah, see, you see, they create a new package called navigation and navgraph, right? And this is complaining here, right? No host is found. Of course, we need a host for navigation, right? We need to, navigation has to happen inside some kind of activity, right? So let's go to activity main. Activity main is where we're going to make these changes. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make some changes here. First of all, we're going to do so that this can host it, right? So in the name, let's do this. Hold on, how do I do this? I need some help here. Okay, so in the activity main, the first thing you want to do is change the Android name. So now in the Android name, instead of saying this dream list fragment, we're not going to do that, right? We're going to do nav host. Sorry, we're going to do Android. Actually, I think we need to have this. We need to import something called res auto, right? So you just need to, hold on, you need to res auto. We do have that code actually. We have this res auto. This is already given to us here. Let me, so we need to replace this Android name by, yes, so we need to do Android X navigation dot fragment dot nav host fragment, right? That's the first thing we need to do. And remember, it should also have this res auto, right? Remember, make sure that that is there, right? Make sure that is there. And then the second thing we're going to do is, we're going to put app dot default nav host, and that's going to be set to true. We're going to set this as a default nav host. And the third thing we're going to do is app.navgraph. So what is this nav graph that we're going to be using here? It's going to be navigation navgraph, right? So we're just going to call this navgraph in this main activity. I think this is everything. Let me double check this real quick. Yeah, it has this tools, fragment container, which is good. And then we have the nav host, true, nav graph, that's good. And then it's going to start. Yeah, so I think this is good. So just remember to add, especially add this nav host fragment, that this is the one that's going to be hosting. And then also remember to add this default nav host, and then also add this nav graph, right? So if we do that, now we go back, you see this changed, right? This changed from this saying, oh, it doesn't have any container, to having this activity main, right? So that's working. That's working so far, right? So we did this. Now let's do this, right? So now go back to navgraph, and then go to, let me remove this, go and click on this plus sign. The first thing we need is the dream list fragment, right? So let's add this dream list fragment here, and then add the dream detail fragment. So also you want to add this dream detail fragment. So remember, we're going to go from dream list fragment to where? To dream detail fragment. So just click on this circular thing in the middle of this vertical line here, and then just put it over here. What just happened? So just put it over here. So this is going to give an error, right? So what this is saying is it's going to go from dream list fragment to dream detail fragment, right? So this is the action that's happening here. But we're going to change the name of the action to it has this all action dream list fragment to dream. So this is a long name, right? So we're going to remove, we can actually edit this. How do I edit this? Edit ID. So we're going to change that to, why is this not doing that? Okay, let me go to the code here, right? I think there should be a way to do here. ID, name, action, dream, detail, right? I think this is the one, right? Yeah, so we need to change this to, we will simply change this to show dream detail, right? And make sure you name this correctly. I think it might be useful. So yeah, so this is what it's going to look like, a nav graph, dream list fragment. And when you click on that, it should have this action show dream detail and dream detail fragment, right? So that's good. Now we'll try to Also, like now this preview is saying preview is unavailable, right? So we'll also make this preview available, right? How do I do this? I just need to go to, I need to add this, first of all, and this is not required, right? I don't think this is required for you in the project, but let me try to do this, right? So um, first of all, you need this thing called the tools. Like we need to import this XML, XMLNS tools, schema android.tools, right? You need to add this here. And the second thing you want to do is you just want to do like tools.layout. Now it's going to work, right? And then we're going to add the fragment dream list here, right? So now if you go to design, then this is being loaded, right? And then also we can add the same thing in this fragment. In the second fragment, we can add the same thing, tools.layout, and then we're gonna do the dream detail here, right? So hopefully this works. Yeah, now it's showing, right? It's gonna go from here to here, right? And I think that's working. So we added the tools. Um, what is the next thing I want to do? Okay, so yeah, so the design view looks something like this. Let me zoom this so that you guys can see this. So this is what it's supposed to look like. Um, let me, oh, another thing is like you want to pass an argument from here to here, right? From list to the stream detail, what you want to pass is you want to pass this dream ID, right? So this dream ID is of the type UUID. So we want to pass that, right? So how do I do that? So I want to click on this thing called this plus sign. We need to pass an argument. So we're going to pass, um, so how do I pass this actually? Okay, the type, okay, instead of passing the this inferable type, we're gonna do custom serializable. So we're gonna, after you click on that custom serializable, we're gonna do UUID. Just click on that UUID. So we're gonna pass this type UUID. We're gonna name it Dream ID, and remember to name this carefully. UUID, and then press on the add button, right? So here, now if you go back, we're gonna pass this thing Dream ID with this Dream ID, which is going to be of type argument type of UUID, right? Which is the ID we want to pass, right? So I think I hope this makes sense so far. Now let's do this, right? Now let's go to Dream Detail Fragment. So this is where we're going to receive. We're going to go to Dream Detail Fragment. This is where we're going to receive that argument, right? So how do I do that? So to do that, we can just do private val args dream detail dream detail fragment args. Dream detail fragment args. Why is that not giving me? Hold on, something is happening here. It should give me dream detail. So let's go back to the nav graph. Maybe we did mess up something here. Argument dream detail. So they have the dream detail fragment. The layout is good. Dream detail fragment. Let me remove this argument again. Let's try this one more time. It should work. I'm not sure why it didn't work, but let's go to the code. We don't have any argument. Maybe we should click on this first before we do the arguments. Okay, maybe we need to click on this before we do that. Yeah, I think we need to click on the dream detail fragment. So let's go and let's do the dream ID again. and then do custom serializable, type UUID, press OK, and add that, and then go to code. I think this is about right. So remember, I think I made a mistake here. You should click on the dream detail fragment before you, yeah, so this is what it should look like, right? So remember to click this dream detail fragment before you do the argument. So let's try this again, right? Let's try this again. I think it should give us this dream detail fragment args now because it has args, right? Dream detail. Oh, here you go. So now we get the dream detail fragment args, right? This is what we want. It should have an argument associated with it by nav args. Hold on. Okay. So this is now this args will carry this value of this dream ID. It's going to be passed, right? So this is good. This is good so far. This is going to be passed here. Now let's see if this works actually, right? So let's go to on view created and let's actually print this now. Log.w, and then we'll do dream detail. But we need to import the log first. Let's import that. I just imported that. And then let's do ddf because it's a dream detail fragment. And then we're going to do received arg, and then we'll put a $sign. And then how do we get this is we just say args dot dream ID, right? So we've named this args as, so if you go back to this nav graph, that is called the dream ID. This args is called the dream ID here, if you check that, right? So let's go there. Where were we? It's so confusing right now. Okay, dream detail fragment, right? So we did this here, right? So, but we haven't passed this from the dream list fragment to here, right? So we need to do that. We need to navigate from the dream list fragment to dream detail fragment. And this is done in the dream list fragment, right? So let's go to dream list fragment, and then we'll, and this is how easy this is, right? This is not like that intent, which is so confusing, right? So, but here we're just going to find nav controller dot navigate. We're going to navigate. In that navigation, we're going to do dream list fragment directions. So it has these directions, and then we're going to click this thing called this show dream detail, and then you need to pass that dream ID, right? So you need to pass that dream ID here, and then let us run the code now. Let's see what we get here. I hope everything works well. Let's work with this. Let's try running this first. It should give us that it received it in dream detail fragment. It should tell us that it received. Let me close a bunch of this stuff. Activity main, I hope we don't have to use that, but we don't have to use that. So now let's run the code and see how this works, right? What we need is the dream list fragment and the dream detail fragment, DLF and DDF. Okay, let's click on this, right? Let's see what it does. Let's go to logcat. Where is logcat? Okay, the logcat is here. Let me clear all this stuff. Clear logcat. Let's click on this. Foster or adopt a pet, right? Okay, see, it says clicked on. Now you see it even went to this. You see that what that nav graph did, what it went from the list to this detail, right? And we didn't have to go to the activity main and change it manually, right? It just went there itself. So it says clicked on dream ID, and this is in DLF, right? So this is coming from here. Clicked on this dream ID, and then same thing was, you see 3214. The same dream was received in here. The same dream was received arg here, received arg this, and we received the same dream, right? So it's working. So this is working, right? All right, so this is working. So let me drink some water here. We are maybe 1/3 done. We are 1/3 done with the lecture. Okay. So there were some things we didn't work on project 2A. I will work a little bit on that. Now, and then this will help us with project 2B, right? So let me check the layout real quick. Let me check the layout for the fragment dream detail. I hope we made this correctly. Let me just double check this. Fragment. Okay, so layout. So yeah, we have this linear layout. We have the text view, title, text, last updated text, which is good. We have the is fulfill checkbox. We have the, yeah, and we have these buttons. Um, okay, so I think we have everything we need. And then we got this thing. So what you guys are going to be doing is um, adding a reflection button at the bottom here for project 2B phase for phase 3 for this project 2B. So let me actually help you with that as well real quick. So what you guys are going to do is add this thing called this floating action button, right? So you're going to put this button, go to this floating action button. Let's just put it outside here. Why can't I put this inside? Floating action. I'll just add this for now. And then you want to put this outside. You want to put this outside here, and then you want to also put some space here. Space. Put some space outside here. Hold on. Put some space. Let's work with the space a little bit. We need to have match parent. We can do 0 DP, and then we're going to add the layout, right? What we did before. Layout weight to 1. And I hope that gives us the consistent spacing. I'm not sure what this is doing here. Okay, what's happening here? Spacing. Zero DP, and then that was able to push that back. So we will call this wrap content. It's gone all the way down here. But anyways, you know what? I'll let you guys figure this out. Like I do need to check how I did this. And then this should, you need this floating button. Basically, you need this for your phase 3, right? So this is what you guys will be using. And then you'll be calling this add reflection button. And then when you click on that, it should give you the dialog box, right? Actually, I'll let you guys figure. But just remember, this is the button that you want to use. Yeah, I'll let you guys figure this out. Actually, I don't want to do everything and waste. This is a very long lecture, by the way, so I just want. But I think we have everything we need for this class. So looks like it's done here. So I'll let you guys figure that out. Actually, okay. So where were we? So add. So let's go to the dream detail fragment now. So we're going to work on some stuff, right? So in the dream detail fragment, we need to handle a couple of stuff, right? Let's go to the update. So we need to handle okay, so let's go to the update view here. Where's the update view? Yeah, so we have done this. We're gonna have to add the timestamp. So let's do the date string equals to date format, and remember to select this android.text.format, right? So that's the one you want to select. And after that, you want to format this in a very particular way. You need to format this by year, year, month, day, at, hour, minute, I think that's minute, second, and then we're gonna do vm.dream.last updated. I hope this works. Date format, dot format, right? I hope this works. And then we're gonna do binding dot title text dot set text equals to vm.dream.title. But this vm.dream.title hasn't been changed, which we're gonna change. Here we just want to change the view first, and then we change the model here, right, in the controller. So let's do that. And then one other thing you want to add in a strings.xml, what you want to do here is you want to also add, let's just copy and paste this. And then here instead of reflection count, we'll say last updated. And then we'll say last updated. And then we'll just say it's going to be a string. And %1 string, that's, I think this is good. And then we'll have to put one more line of code here in dream detail fragment. We're gonna say binding dot last updated text equals to get string. And remember, this is the same thing that you did for the reflection count as well, right? The last updated equals to date string. And this should work, right? This should give us the, so let's go here, run this, and I hope this works. Let's click on one of these. Okay, so we got the date, right? It's 10:52 37. So it got created, and then from the fetch from the database, and then we got the last updated, right? So this is working. This is working. Okay, so but the one thing we still haven't done is we still doesn't handle when it makes to the title to save these, right? So to save this, we're gonna go to the on create view. We're gonna work with the model. We worked with the view here, but we're gonna have to work with the model here. So on create view. Actually, it's in on view created, not on create view. So we're gonna go here and then do binding dot title text dot do on. So this is in the book, right? This is this thing, how to do this is shown in the book. I will let you, I did let you guys figure this out. So there are the 4 parameters. We're only gonna use the text out of those 4 parameters. So this is how we're gonna write this. We're gonna use the text. So vm.dream equals to vm.dream.copy. We're gonna copy from that, and in the title we're gonna add the text.toString. So whatever is passed to this text, we're gonna convert it to toString, right? And that is what the title is gonna be. But not only that, we need to do this thing here, otherwise it does some weird things. We need to add the entries at svm.dream.entries, right? We need to make sure that the old entries are still in this new updated dream, right? So when we do this, that's going to change that. And then we're going to add another conditional element to, we're going to add some condition here to change this title. So we're only going to change this title if binding dot title text dot text dot toString. So that string is not equals to, whenever this is not equals to the vm.dream.title. If it's the same, we don't have to do anything, right? If that's the same, then we're gonna add this here, and then we are done. So this was for project 2A. I think that's all it was asking with project 2A, right? So we finished this. Okay, okay, so I think we finished everything here. So it's gonna be changing. Um, so now if you click on this, my first stream, now if I click on this, my second dream, then this is going and changing that, right? So this is happening here. Now all of this stuff is done, right? I think I still have this. Why do I have this floating thing here? Did I create this? Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Let's just ignore that for now. I hope I didn't. I hope I deleted that. Yeah, I have no idea where that came from. But anyway, so let's just continue working on this code, right? So now we created a test in Dream Detail View Model. So if we go to this Dream Detail View Model, we created some test data, right? We created this fake data with this one dream, right? But now instead of instead of using this first dream, see that the thing that it was not changing because we just had this my first dream and it was not doing anything, right? So what we need to do is we need to change this, right? We need to be able to fetch this from the from the database. Actually, we need to have this from the database, right? So, but the problem with this thing is this dream detail view model, it cannot take a parameter. The only way to take a parameter is there's a thing called factory in dream detail view model, right? So we need to work with this, right? We need to make this dream detail view model. So let's work with this, right? Dream detail view model. So we need to create this another class here. We need to create this class called so that we can pass a parameter, which is the ID, right? Which is the dream ID, UUID. It needs to be able to be passed here, right? So we need to be able to do that. So to do that, first of all, let's go here and then remove all this stuff, right? We don't need any of this stuff now. And then we need to be able to pass a dream ID. Dream ID, we'll say UUID. And then, but it cannot do it itself, right? We need the factory to be able to do it, right? And then we will say init, and then we're gonna look up dream from database via dream ID. We need to be able to do that. And then so that we cannot send parameter to view model unless we create a factory, right? So this is just how it works, right? So the more information I can give you is in Android's Jetpack view model architecture, view models are usually created by the framework. However, if you want to pass custom arguments like Dream ID to a view model, the default mechanism won't work. View models are normally created with no argument constructor by default, right? That's where this view model provider factory comes in. It allows you to control how the view model is created, including passing parameters to the constructor, right? So I just read this off from my notes. This you need this to be able to pass this, right? So let's do this. Dream detail view model factory. We'll just create this dream, and then we'll have dream ID UUID, and then we'll say view model provider, and then it has to be factory, and then we will just call this, right? Okay, so we need to implement something from here, right? Now we need to, what do we need to do here? We need to be able to clean this. What is this saying? Dream detail view model factory, dream ID, view model provider. And then we need to create this function called create. Function called create. Let's do that. and then view model, create model class, and then it's gonna return a generic. We're gonna return a hold on. We're gonna return dream detail view model with dream ID. So we're gonna return this this dream detail view model with this dream ID. Oh, actually, we need to do private val. It's not going to work. Private val, so that we can get the stream ID. And then is a generic model, right? So we need to pass this as we create this, right? So that's all this is doing. So we have to return t because it's a generic view model, right? So we need this function to be able to create the stream detail view model, right? So this is how it works. I hope I did everything right here. Let me just double check this. Dream detail, private val, factory, and then so I think this is good. Override. Okay, so let's add the factory in the dream detail fragment code and let's pass the argument. So let's go to dream detail fragment. It's going to give a lot of errors, like I basically messed up the whole code here, right? So but we're going to fix it one by one. Don't worry about this right now. So let's go to private val. We're going to say vm dream detail. Actually, we already created it here. But here, now we can pass an argument here, dream detail view model factory, and we can pass the dream ID. How do I do that now? Args dot dream ID. So now you see the point, right? Why we did this. So the reason that we created this args was you can't simply just pass this dream ID here, right? You need to pass it through this factory, right? So how did we do that? We just created this and then we passed this, right? Dream ID. And now that it has been passed, it has been passed now to um, um, using this args, right? This args, let me put it below this so that it makes sense. Using this args.dream ID, the dream ID that was in here is passed to the stream detail view model now, right? So that has been done. Now we're gonna get the dream in the dream view model from the database. First of all, we need to, let's start working here. So initialize, first of all, we need to initialize the coroutine. To do that, this is for, remember, this is for like multi-threading, right? I mean, this is for setting up a new thread. And then we're going to do dream repository dot get. Remember, let me just go back to dream repository here. I hope you remember the dream repository we created. This dream repository has already been initialized by this Dreamcatcher application, but we need to get this dream repository so that we can call other functions here, right? So let's do this. We're going to call, oh boy, there are so many things here right now. Where is this? Okay, get, and then we're going to do get dreams. We're going to call this function called get dream. And then we're going to get this dream by passing the dream ID, right? Which is given to us, which has been passed to us now. And then that's how we're going to get it now. But also remember how we stored the dream in the dream list. If you look at that dream list view model, right? In the stream list, we use something called Stateflow, right? We're going to do something similar here, right? But before I do that, give me just a second. Hi, everyone. I'm recording another video. The last video, I forgot to actually share my screen, and yeah, I had to record another video from this point on. I hope I'm not missing anything in the code. I had to retrace back the code and get back to this point from where we were at last point. So let's get started. I think we were creating a mutable stateflow. So let me see. Yeah, I hope you can see my screen now. I hope I don't have to write this code again. Okay, so let's start working on this. So we're gonna make like a mutable state flow like we did in the dream list fragment that we did in the last lecture. We're gonna start by creating a backing variable. We're gonna do private var binding equals fragment dream detail back binding equals null. Okay, and then I have to do, sorry, this has to be a colon. And then I need to create another mutable variable. So if this doesn't make sense, please go back to the last video and see what this is about. Get, and then I'm gonna do check not null. Where am I right now? Hold on. Sorry, this is for not for binding, for dream. And I'm creating a mutable state for not the binding, right? Sorry about that. Mutable state flow. And then we need to put the dream here and mutable state flow. And then we'll have the initialize with the value of null. And then we're going to do val dream dot a state flow, right? So this is what we're going to do. And then we're going to create a function later that's going to update the dream. So if some change is made to the dream, then we'll have to update this dream, right? So we're going to update the mutable state from here, right? Which is going to be this mutable state. We're going to update it here, right? So that's what we're going to work on here, right? So, and then also we need to remember to add this dream value here, dream dot value equals dream dot value equals. So this backing variable, we need to fetch it from the database and get the dream. We already made this get dream in the last lecture, and then we're just going to have to fetch this in dream dot value, right? So that's what we need to do. So now we want to monitor the stream from the dream detail fragment so that we can change it when updating the mutable state, right? First of all, we will work on the on view created. So we're going to work on the on view created here. And we're going to do something very similar that we did in the last lecture. Remember in the last lecture, we created these two coroutine um, coroutine uh, like loops. So we're just going to use these two loops. And I explained what this loop does in the last lecture, but basically it is a coroutine um, that is going to start a thread. And it is going to be very similar. Its life cycle is going to be very similar to the life cycle of this fragment, right? So that's long and short of this. So we're going to start like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do similar to what we did. We're going to just do vm.dream, which we just got from here, this immutable dream. So this is the mutable dream, but we're going to get the immutable dream from here. And then we're going to do vm.dream. We're going to collect. That means if there's any changes that's happening to this stream, then it's going to go to this update function and let it update. But we're going to check, first of all, if it's null or not. So if it's not null, like, so this dream question mark is going to check if it's not null. If it's not null, then we're going to do let. That means it's just basically, it's just saying work with this dream if it's not null, right? So this let can be pretty handy at times when you want to check null. So we're going to do update view, and then it is just basically going to be this stream, right? The reason this is giving us an issue is because in the update view we don't have this dream dream variable. So we're gonna go and add the dream variable here, dream. So this issue should go away now. And then we can remove these update functions now, because what's gonna happen is before we had to manually click on the update view functions, but now we don't have to do that anymore because um, we don't have to do this anymore because it's automatically, if there's any changes in the dream, then it's automatically going to call this update view function. So we don't need to do this anymore. So now we're going to fix some issues. So instead of saying VM dream, we're just going to simply call this dream, which is in this function. So we're just going to remove this VM from all of the functions. So remove all of this. So we're going to get rid of all these errors. Dream, 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 dream. So hopefully we got rid of all the problems from this function. Looks like it, all the errors are gone from this function. So that fixed it, right? So that we got this coroutine, and then after that we're just gonna update it every single time there's some change to a dream, right? But still, we still haven't used this function, right? We still haven't used this update dream. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do something interesting here, and might even be confusing in the beginning. You really need to think about it, but we're gonna use this function, but we're going to pass a function from here and do something over here, right? So let's see what that is, right? So let's see what we want to do here. Okay. The first thing, okay, so let's see. So we're gonna stay in our tradition of maintaining the separation between model view and control, and specifically we're going to make a separation here between the model and the controller. Here is we don't want to change anything related to the database that's going to connect with the database from here. So we're going to use this update dream function. We're gonna call the update dream function to update these entries from here, right? So if there's any change in text or checkbox, anything like that, we're gonna go ahead and change that in the stream detail view model, right? And how do we do that, right? So how do we do that is in this update dream, we're gonna pass a function. Actually, I think we already did it the first time in this lecture. We're gonna get some more practices. We're gonna pass this function called on update, and then we're going to pass dream as the input, and we're going to return dream as the output, right? So it's going to give us the old dream, and then we're going to return the new dream instead, right? So now what we're going to do is, like the old dream, the dream that is given to us, it's going to be this dream, the dream that is we bring out from the database. But the new dream is the one that is going to be new dream is the one that is like changed in dream detail fragment, right? So how do I make sure that that works, right? So let's do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do dream, and then we're going to simply do update on this thing. And how do I update this, right? So first of all, we're going to call this dream as the old dream, right? So we're going to call this as the old dream, and then we need to return something called the new dream, right? So let's do that, val new dream, right? So we need to return this new dream, right? So new dream, and how we're gonna do is we're gonna so remember, this is gonna give an issue unless we return this new dream, right? So let's do this first. New dream is gonna be simply old dream. If it's not null, we're gonna let again. Oops, sorry. On update. So we're gonna use that on update function that has been given to us to update our old dream, and then simply put this old dream here, which is going to be the it, right? Since we're using the otherwise, if it's null, we're going to simply return. That's all this is doing. And it's going to give an error here because it has to return a dream, right? So this function, eh, I'm sorry, this thing update has to return a dream, right? So we're just going to do new dream, and that's why it's giving us an issue. The second thing we're going to do is if new dream is equals to old dream, and new dream dot entries equals old dream dot entries. When this happens, we're going to simply do return. We're going to simply return this, right? And there's one last thing, right? We need to take care of the entries and also like the last updated date, right? So for example, we can simply do this. We can work on this actually. We can just do new dreams dot copy. We're just going to make a copy of this new dream that we worked here. And then we're going to do something called last updated date. So why are we doing this, right? If there is nothing that has been changed, then we don't need to mess with any of the entries or anything like that, right? But if there is something that has been changed, we're going to simply do date. I hope I got the right date. I think it's date. Yeah, it's Java util. Make sure that it's Java util. And this is going to give us the most recent date, right? And then we can simply do that. The last updated date is just going to be that date, right? And then we're going to apply entries from the new dream. Entries is going to be new dream dot entries. That's all that we need to do, right? So this function is what it's going to do is it's going to take the stream that we took from the database and it's going to use this update function. And then what it's going to do is it's going to use this update as old dream. And then when you use this update function, you need to return the same data type, right? So if it's a dream data type, then it has to return the same dream data type, right? Which is going to be new dream. It's going to be simply the dream, right? And then we're going to have to return this. So basically this is returning a new dream, right? But you might say, Professor, where is this on update function, right? So we don't have that on update function. It has to be passed through here. We did this because we wanted to separate the model and the control, right? So remember, we are only changing this model, which is directly changing the database in this model, right? But we're going to have to change the controller now. We're going to change the controller, and this is going to be slightly confusing for you guys, or maybe it won't be confusing, but hopefully this is not confusing. We'll have to we need to pass this function, right? So how do I do that? So to do that, I'm just going to simply, actually, let me put this outside so that it's easier. So just paste it. Actually, I'm just going to cut it. I'm just going to keep it at hand for now. Just going to delete that. And then here, we're going to do VM. And then we're going to call this function update dream, right? So we're going to simply call that update dream function. And remember, in this update dream function, we need to actually pass a function. So you need to call a function by giving a function, right? So that's a little bit weird, but please follow here with me. So we're going to have the old dream. And then we need to return the new dream, right? So what we're going to do simply is old dream dot copy, and then simply we need to change the title text to string, and then we need to just simply apply the entries like we had before, right? Before we made all the changes, and is the old dream dot entries. So if we do this, then this is simply gonna call this function and pass the function here, and it's going to go over here and then going to use this function here, right? So it's going to change the text here. So that's all this is doing here, right? So we need to do the same thing with these two on-click listener. It's going to be slightly tricky, but let's work on this as well, right? So I'm just going to cut this to keep it at hand. Maybe I'll need to copy and paste that back again, but let me just keep that for now. So let's do this again. So this is on click listener. We're going to do vm.update dream. We're going to pass the old dream. And then we're going to do old dream dot copy. We're just going to copy like we did before. But now we're going to apply it. And while we apply it, we're going to do something with the entries, right? Entries is going to be different when we are working with the checkbox. So we're going to do entries equals to. And the beautiful thing about Kotlin is we can simply use this if conditions even when we are assigning a variable, right? So we can do something like old dream dot is deferred. So we need to be very careful how we write this code. So please be very, very careful here, right? You don't want to mess this code up. And then what we need to do is old dream dot entries equals, actually not equals, dot filter. We need to filter it if it's already clicked, if the checkbox is already clicked, then we need to do this, right? Dream entry kind dot deferred. That's good. And then if it's not clicked, if we are clicking it right now, then we need to do entries. Plus, we need to add something in that dream entry. We need to make a new dream entry. And then the kind is going to be dream entry kind dot deferred. It's going to be deferred kind. And dream ID is going to be the old dream ID, right? It's going to be the same dream that's whatever dream that is being done over here. We need the ID for that. So this is working. We simply pass this function over here, and that's going to work, right? So we have some like a little bit of more issues that we need to. I'm simply going to copy and paste this code for the fulfilled checkbox. We're going to simply replace all this with fulfilled stuff here. And then old copy entries is fulfilled, entries filter old dream to fulfilled. That's good. Old dream entries plus entries kind is going to be fulfilled and old dream ID. So this is good. So I can remove this, remove all this stuff here. All right, so this is good. So I have I fixed the fulfilled and I fixed this defer checkbox and also this text, right? So what they're doing is simply going here and then updating itself, right? So this is working so far. Now let's actually try running this and see how this works. You're gonna see some interesting things. Hopefully you'll see some interesting things here. Let's try running this app. Okay, it's launching. Let's click on a dream here, right? So foster or adopt a pet or wild animal. Actually, yeah, this database is still from the last lecture. This hasn't been cleared, but just this, think about just this is a new database. Think what just happened here. Let me try running this again. Oh no, the app is just crashing. Let me check what's happening. You know, this is what happens. This happened probably because there's something that I did in the last video that I missed. I'm sorry about this. Let's check. Dream detail fragment line 31. Let's go there. Oh yeah, I think I did this in the last video clip, but I was retracing this code and I think I made a mistake here. So please, I think this was already done. But again, this is the second clip. I had to retrace the code back. I think this is the issue here. So let's do this again. I hope this works. Yeah, you don't have to write this code again. I think I already showed you guys to do this, like to call, to add arguments to the dream detail model here using the factory, right? So I think I already did that in the last clip. I hope this works now. I hope this works. So please remember to add this if you haven't done so. But I think I did that in the last video. Let's click on this. Okay, this is working now, right? So this is working. Let's just check something real quick. To uh, foster or adopt a pet or wild animal, let me remove that. And then as you see it here, right? As I changed here, foster an animal, you see that this last updated was changing here, right? So to show you one more time, let me remove the fulfill checkbox and you'll see that time change. You see the timestamp is changing. That means it's going all the way to this dream detail and then it's changing this dream, this mutable dream, right? So it's changing that and then it's going over here, it's collecting it's collecting that dream as it is changing, and then it's updating the view, right? So it's really cool. So, but now if I go back here, so if I go back foster or adopt a pet, it doesn't change, right? So this is not changing. The reason it's not changing is we haven't gone back to the database to make changes with it, right? We're just pulling it from the database, and then some things are being changed here, but we're not going back to the database to change this stuff. So let's do that, right? Let's go back and change. Let's change this in the database, right? So let's go to do that. We need to. So now I think I mentioned this in the theory section, is once you hit the back button, it's gonna be in a state we talked about in the theory section. Is gonna have this onCleared function, right? So in this onCleared function, we want to go to the dream repository and then call the update dream function, which we haven't created, which we're gonna create, update dream function, and it's gonna go to the database and change this stuff, right? So dream value, we're gonna just pass this dream value, and it's going to go to the database and change it. So first of all, we need to go to the Dream DAO, right, to make changes in the database, right? So do that. We're going to do a few things. We're going to do, and this all will make sense after I finish writing this code, but let's do update first and then suspend. We don't need to write a query. This room already has this feature that immediately updates it. So we're going to do internal. That means we're only going to use this inside this function. People from outside, I mean the classes outside are not going to use this, right? So dream, that's simply going to update the dream. And then we're going to use the insert suspend fun internal insert dream entry. Dream entry. It's going to insert the dream entry, and then we're going to do query. And this is all going to make sense, right? I'll show you what the steps are here. Query, like I told you in the last lecture, we can actually write our own queries in using the SQL queries, right? We're going to delete the dream entry where dream ID equals dream ID that has been passed to us, right? So we're going to do dream ID that has been passed to us. That dream ID we're going to get from the suspend function. Internal delete entries from dream. We're going to delete entries from dream, which we're going to call dream ID, and then we're going to call UUID. So we're going to delete the dream entries which has this dream ID, right? So that's all that is doing here. And then we're going to make a transaction here. Basically, we're going to bundle all these functions and write a function that's going to be called from outside. So dream and entries. We're going to update dream and entries, and then we're going to be given a dream here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do internal delete entries from dream. First of all, we need to delete the entries that is from this dream ID, right? We're going to have to delete this from the database. This is not deleting from this dream detail view model, right? It's deleting from the database. Second is we need to add these dream entries in the database, right? That is given us from the dream. So we're going to do dream internal insert dream entry, right? So we're going to pass this from this mutable state to the database, right? And then finally, we're going to update the dream, and then we're going to simply pass the dream, and that is simply going to update our dream from this, right? So now we created this DAO. All we're going to have to do is go to the dream repository, and this is going to be here. Where's the dream repository? Okay, the dream repository is here, right? So first of all, what we need to do is we're going to need a coroutine. Again, remember I mentioned to you in the lecture that the view model can stop prematurely here, right? So when it does that, we need to be able to call this dream repository.update dream, which we haven't created. We're going to create this. We're going to have to do that in a separate thread, or we're going to use the coroutine here, right? To do that, we're going to do something called, and again, the lecture slide does say this is not the best practice, right? And it isn't. but we are gonna stick through this, right? Because this is just the scope of the course. So we're gonna use this global coroutine scope, and we're gonna say something like global scope is this is mentioned in the book, right? Again, like I said, this is not the best practice, but we're gonna go along with that. And then we're gonna click on here, and then we're gonna just say delegate coroutine containing class stream repository. Again, this is not the best practice, but we're gonna use it anyway. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna do private val coroutine. That's good. And then we're going to create the function. We're going to create a function called update dream that it's calling here, right? So we need to create that update dream so that it goes back to the database and update dream so that it goes back to the database and updates the dream, right? So we're going to do update dream, and then we're going to do coroutine scope, and this is going to create another thread so that even if your view model closes prematurely, this is still gonna do its job in the database. So dream DAO, and then we're gonna do update dream and entries, right? So we're simply calling this function update dream and entries. We're gonna have to update dream and entries, and we're gonna have to pass the dream. So basically, that is gonna go to the database, and that's gonna fix it, right? So let's okay, this is still giving an issue. I think we need to write it like this. So let me do this: dream dot value, do question mark if it's null, and then we're going to do let the simply guess the same dream value. All right, so we're going to do dream repository dot get. Basically, dream repository has already been initialized by this Dreamcatcher application, but we need to now get it, right? We need to get this dream repository. So we're going to get it, and then we're going to do update dream and then pass this it. So it should now go to the database, and then it should work, right? It should go to the database, and now it should be stored in the database if we made any changes. All right, so let's try running this. Let's try running this. Hopefully no more issues. Okay, so let's click on this. Now let's try this. Foster or adopt a pet or wild animal. Let me just remove wild animal. And then we will just, so see that the timestamp is changing. And then we're going to do a back button, right? Foster or adopt a pet, right? Let's go back. So see, this changed, right? This went to the, you can even saw that it took a little bit time to change that, right? Because it was working on a background thread. So now let's change something. Try water skiing. And let me say snow tubing. So I went snow tubing a couple of weeks ago with my wife. So I did enjoy it. And then we're going to do try water skiing or snow tubing. And then I'm going to go back snow tubing, or so you see that this was changed, right? So this is working now. When you see the back button, this is working, right? So that's about it. I think there's one more thing I wanted to show you guys is you can actually see this database if you go to Device Explorer and hold on, let me close this. So if you go to this data and then go click on data and then go all the way down here to your Dreamcatcher app, you will be able to see these database files, Dream database that's been created here. So you can even look at these database files, right? So that's all I wanted to show you. I think this should be the end of phase. I'm not sure, but I think that should be it. But again, phase 3, you'll have to work on the phase 3 yourself. I'm not going to be writing any code in this class. And that means we are done with the lecture this week, the spring break week, and we're not going to have a lecture for this week 9 as well, since I did chapter 13. Chapter 14, you'll be implementing yourself, and you'll be asking me specific questions. So the techniques are pretty much similar to what I showed you in this video, so that's why I'm leaving you guys to do this, right? So you guys should be able to figure this out. But I'll be recording a short demo video now, and yeah, demo video for Project 2B, and that should be the end of of 2B, right? So you should be able to do this. I wish you the best. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Happy spring break. I hope you have a great spring break, and I hope you have some fun. All right, I'm gonna head out. Bye bye.